Hello everyone. Welcome to today's stream. Hope you had a good day so far. Was just looking at the new week of new hero jump starter achievements. They are really tailored to new players, so you get just some karma for doing some events in the starting zones. And when you complete 5 of those, you will get a 20 slot back, which is actually quite good. It's around, I would say, 11, 12 gold worth. It's good, I guess, as a new player. And of course, the most important part here is that you get 50% experience gain, all sources. That also means world versus world in PvP. So that's crazy. Hi Roderick, welcome to the stream. Yeah, the roadmap, it's interesting. Are you excited? The roadmap, as you don't know. They released a roadmap. Wait, I can link it to you. Just now. Here it is. That's the roadmap. Or the studio update. And I will discuss it a little bit further later. But it's, I would say, rather grounded. We don't get any information, I would say, that was not previously available in the roadmap, except information about the newest patch that will come out next week. So I guess if you were looking for some huge insight or some huge surprises, you're a little bit sad now. So that's just how it is, I guess. Yeah, sure, Roderick. Shoot. What's your question? So, that's a tough question. So, for me, it's like I'm almost always solo queuing. So I would say 99% of the time I'm solo queuing. So I'm exactly in the same situation. So I would say the first thing you have to realize is that some matches are not winnable in your situation, just because you have 4 teammates and you are just a single player. So even if you play perfectly, sometimes you can't win a match because your team is just carrying the enemy team to win, you know? And in these situations, you just have to accept that you lost this match. And then the important part here is that you are not playing ranked PvP for winning. You should try to win, of course, but your main goal should be to improve. What can you learn from your mistakes in this match? That's really important. So I'm always going into a PvP match and say, okay, what can I learn from this match? You know? And then I try my best. And this is actually helping a lot to improve, because then you don't have the mindset of always saying, oh, we lost this match. Yes, I actually think it's possible without recording. You can record, of course, that's the best option. You can do it like me, record your match and then watch it later. You don't, of course, have to post it anywhere, just watch it for yourself and learn. But I think that's not even necessary. Most of the time you can just think about the match, especially about the later stages when it's 400 points or so. And what did you do? Did you make the right decision, especially regarding rotations, Or did you crumble in a fight? Did you do a let's say, a really bad decision, you know, you used your, for example, res utility, you know, and you didn't land it, you know, how could you have known, or what could you have done to make it land, or something like that, you know? So it's more about looking at your rotations, and on the other side, looking also on your mechanical plays. So therefore, I would say it's harder if you don't record, but if you somewhat memorize the match, what just happened, and think about it a little bit, then you still can get some value out of it. And it's also going to the same point that even in the match, I feel like I can get some value, you know? You don't have to play the game for 15 minutes and after that think about it, you know? Every time you die, think about it. What did go wrong? Did you do a big mistake, or did you just get outplayed, or what happened? I think that's really important. That's the first step. And then when you, let's say, get a little bit more accustomed to not dying all the time, then think about when you cap a point and there's a slight moment of no action. Think about what should you do next, you know? Step a little bit out of your game and think about what would you do? What would a really good player do, you know? Next. That helps a lot. I think it's a really big thing. It's the mindset in PvP that you have to improve, and don't flame your allies. It's not helping. I think about what can you do better, and think about that during the match as well. I think that helps a lot. At least in my opinion, you know. I mean, I can't give you some really specific tips, of course, because that's everyone learns differently. But I think this is really important. Yeah, that's totally fine. I think I try always to improve even if I'm not recording the match, you know. And oftentimes that helps. Interesting. So currently this party only consists of supports, except the scrapper. That's an interesting match. I'm not sure if that's gonna work in the end. Yeah, I mean, it's totally fine. I think if you duo queue with a partner, it's oftentimes you don't really see what's happening, what's the problem is, because sometimes you carry matches that you didn't play that well. But if you solo queue, you don't have that problem. Everything relies on yourself. I think that's the big thing. Therefore, I would always say, try to improve, try to see your own mistakes, and don't flame stuff that can't be changed. For example, if an ally player is bad, don't think about it. You can't change it anyways, you know? So you should always look at your mistakes. That's the only thing that you can change. That's really important. For me, at least, that's the biggest thing. And if you are, you know, if you're not in the mood because you lost 2 matches in a row, stop. I think it's the most really important advice I can give you. If you're in a bad mood, it doesn't help, you know, that you play PvP. So at least in my opinion, if I lose too many matches in a row, I say, okay, this is not the day. Next time, you know. Yeah, because I feel like even subconsciously you will get worse, you know, so that if you lost 2 or 3 games in a row, I think the 3rd or 4th game won't be perfect. You won't play as good as you did in the first game, at least in my opinion. And therefore, just stop and come back the next day. Do something else. Either play some other game mode or another game or whatever, you know. You don't have to play PvP if you don't feel like it. Yeah, so let's talk about the roadmap. I mean, so I would say the roadmap was totally expected. There was nothing in there what I would say was what was not, you know, previously known, at least in my opinion. And the next patch will release next week. And I think they said some cool stuff about that. It was some really nice teasers about what's going to happen regarding the raid, the convergence, the legendary spear. I think that's good. They said some kind of this and even showed a trailer. So I'm really happy about that. It's interesting that they also talked about World versus World, what they have for goals in mind and stuff. And the interesting part here is that they did yesterday a live stream about what changes they do with the, I think, next week. And the interesting part is that a lot of people actually were expecting some bigger changes, and now they say they also are working on some bigger changes. So it's a really bit weird that they yesterday did a short live stream talking about stuff that is not really affecting crazy amounts of people. I don't know. I'm not sure if the World versus World changes are big. Yeah, I think that's totally fair if you are frustrated easily in PvP. I think you should just keep in mind, if you are frustrated and you can't change that, then you should probably stop, because it doesn't help your performance. I think that's the best thing you can do. And what's also, I think, one other point that is also really important to mention if you want to improve in PvP, there are two possible ways. The first way is to say, okay, I want to play one class and get better at it. For example, you say, for example, you like to play Willbender, just an example. Play this class. Don't swap all the time, because if you get better at one class, doesn't mean that you are really good at another class as well. So you should always stick to one class if you're not feeling totally fine or totally bored. But the other side of the coin would be that playing one class only doesn't let you see what other classes have to be aware of, what other classes have to take into consideration when you play them. So therefore, I would also recommend to you, if you are bored of one class, to just check out other classes. But don't expect you to perform really good on them. But it will help you get better at your main class, because you know how classes play. So example would be if you play support Chrono and you have trouble surviving against Willbender damage, just play Willbender and check out what a Willbender has to do to perform in the damage department. If you then play Chronomancer again, you will probably get better just by knowing how to deal with a Willbender, you know? I think that's a really important thing to learn, that it's not always about getting really good at another class, but also understanding the opponent's class. For example, if you always die against the Hammer Warrior, just play Hammer Warrior and think about what your rotations or what, skills they line up, and also you line up when you play it, to make it to land your CC skills or to land your damage. If you then can look out for exactly that, you play way better on your main class. That's just how it goes, I think that's a really good tip that I can also give you. But of course, don't expect if you swap every single match to a different class, that you will improve over time. You have to stick to something to get better at it. You can't just play different stuff and expect to get better at one thing. Yeah, that's a common issue in Guild Wars 2. For PvE there is actually an add-on called Guild Wars 2 Clarity. This add-on allows you to see a really big part of the screen enlarged. So for example, the boons that you want to look out for can be enlarged. For example, stability would be here really big on the screen. The problem is it's not allowed in PvP. So I have sad news for you. So there is no real thing that you can improve the visibility of those boons. It's just how it is. And you have to either learn to live with it, or you should find a way to see or check before you do an attack. I don't know. It's hard. For me, I always check the buff bar because it's under the health bar of my target. But I can get your point that it's quite hard to see sometimes. So sadly it's not allowed because it would give you an unfair advantage against other people that wouldn't use it. That's the argument. And I get that argument, but it should be in the game so everyone could use it, but it's just not the way it is. So welcome everybody. What do you think of the new roadmap and the teasers of the next patch? Really excited to hear your opinion. Are you hyped for the new raid? The new convergence? Or are you not playing it at all? Because the interesting part is actually that that will probably be a first time that we don't get any new open world map. So if you are an open world map enjoyer, you just have to use the old use the old maps. Yeah, I get it. If you are a PvP player, Roderick, of course, then you will not be hyped. You get 6 more relics. That's it. They could be cool. I hope they're cool, because I would say the latest ones are quite nice. The Stormsinger one is nice. The Atrocity one can be nice on lifesteal builds. The Rivers relic was totally broken. But yeah, if you do all count, then I mean, at least you could go for the spear, I would say. And you always have to keep in mind, if there's some new balance with the relics, for example, new builds could emerge, and then you could play a new build that is totally suited to your playstyle. Maybe that helps as well. Because sometimes, you know, if you say you are a support player in every game and you play support in Guild Wars, and then you suck at it, so to say, sometimes you just have to play a different role, and maybe you are way better at it, you know. If you are a side noder or duelist, might be way better if you play this. I don't know. Can help to try some different stuff, especially when your build emerges, of course. I'm always happy, especially in PvP. I try different builds, but most of the time I try to stick to one to get in higher ratings. But in all other game modes, I really like to switch things up, you know, and play all the classes, all the builds all the time, just to have fun. And because the release cadence of Guild Wars 2 or ArenaNet is really low. So most of the time you have years that you play the same content. And if you don't do stuff that you enjoy, then you have to spice it up by, you know, playing different stuff that might be more enjoyable than playing always the same class and the same build. If you only stick to one class and always the same build, that's insane. I think that's I would quit the game for sure, just because it's way too boring. I think it's totally fine to play only one class, but I would play different builds. So I really like to play Mesmer currently, but I play all the builds. So I play Condition Virtuoso, Power Virtuoso, Boon DPS Chronomancer or Boon Heal Chronomancer. Doesn't matter. If you play all the builds, then you have way more variety than just playing always Condition Virtuoso. And it also makes you way better at the game because you can fill different roles. You get to know what you have to do, which mechanics do you have to do, what you should do on a specific build. I think that's really important as well. Because what I just told you about getting better at the game and stuff, I think it's also important to not only do that in competitive modes, but also try to do that in PvE. Because if you just say, oh, I get the kill, I don't need to get better, I think that's a bad mindset. You should always try to aim for doing higher DPS, for not dying that often, or for giving better boon up time or whatever, you know. I think you should always aim to be a better player. At least in my opinion, because that's also really helpful to enjoy the game a lot more, in my opinion. Because if you don't have a goal in a game, it's just, why do you play it at all, you know? And improving at a game can be a really beneficial goal to have something to do in a game. At least for me. Might be that different people are different, yeah, of course. But I would also say it's totally fine if you see that differently, you know, that's totally fine. Just, I feel like if you play the game without getting better, it might be less fun, to me at least, than I could imagine, you know. And I also think it's a really, especially in PvE, I often feel like if I'm performing well on something, I have a big impact not only on the group and the carry potential, but also it feels so much I feel so much satisfaction when someone recognizes you. You are the boon DPS and you are still the best performing DPS in the group. That's a good feeling, you know, so that you perform really well and someone says, that's insane, how do you do that much damage, you know? I think that's really cool that you get some kind of feedback from people that say that's impressive what you do. I think that's really nice, and that's also something that you can work towards too. Hi sweet Caroline, welcome. Yeah, it's really nice that you find the videos helpful. I try my best. If you have any feedback or any, let's say, even recommendations what you want to see as a video, let me know. I try to make it happen. At least if I can help you there, you know. I'm not all-knowing. Some stuff I don't know. But if you have any problems, I'm always helpful. Glad if I can help. So here, this fight is especially important as a healer, that you do completely correct your rotation, don't fuck up your opener, so that the people don't get stand still. You have to CC here. You see my CC is really good. I'm almost carrying the whole group just by doing all the CC. Stuff like that on hard fights, you should always aim for performing perfect, at least as good as you can, just to make it sure that if someone else makes a mistake, that you can at least, you know, try to carry them even if they make a mistake. You see, I didn't touch once here because I don't need to. This fight is actually really easy if you know what you're doing. It's not a hard fight at all. So stuff like that in PvE is really important, that you know what you are doing, how you can carry your group. And just movement is really important, that you know how the fight works. Stuff like that is so important, and every single game mode is like that. If you know how to carry your group, it might help immensely to perform better. I mean, this group is not not that bad, so no one died yet. But still, there might be times where we have deaths, and therefore you should try to do your best even as a supporter. Or especially on a healing fight like that as a supporter. Very nice, we got it. It's fine. You can come whenever you have feedback. You can also either write me a comment on a YouTube video, or if you have some more stuff to discuss, you can also just join my Discord. I'm happy to discuss stuff there as well. I'm also really excited about the new spear, I have to admit. Yeah, have a nice evening. Thanks for joining. Have fun as well. I'm really excited about the new spear, because the new spear is actually not only one spear, it will also have some variants. So just like the Oreen ones. That's been confirmed now. So there will be 6 different variants, which is really cool. I'm not sure how they look, we don't know that yet. But at least there are 6 different skins with one legendary. Of course you have to probably do some achievements, collection, whatever, to unlock them, so you don't get 6 skins just by getting the legendary. But that's really cool. So you get more for your development time. Really cool. So I would go to the middle here now, but apparently this group doesn't want to. Okay, now they go. Just because if you focus one, that's most of the time good enough if the healers are aware of giving stability and healing. But I guess it's fine. And it's actually really interesting. We also know that the new raid will have 3 bosses, and in between there will be some trash mobs and maybe some puzzle elements, just like the early wings. That's really interesting. And I would say all wings for that matter. That's really cool. And the convergence will be the same map, but a little bit different in scale. And that also means that the convergence will also have one boss only at first, and they will release the other ones after that. So just like the convergence versus Soto release. It's really cool as well. Let's see how hard it will be. I hope that the raid will not be that hard, because there will be the challenge mode and the legendary mode. And if the normal mode already is really hard, that would be a problem for people, so that we have new people in raids as well. But let's see what they did. I'm also really excited about how the reward structure will be. So will the raid be daily or weekly locked? Probably it will be weekly locked, but I hope there will be some incentive to do it again daily, so that there will be, maybe you get 1 gold per boss or something, so that there is a little bit of incentive to do it again. Because I feel like if they don't do that, there will be a big yeah, what, so to say, lack of content for a lot of people, because you can just do it once every week. Might be not enough. And then the play up will be, contentless for the next few months, because there will be no new map. It's just not ideal, I would say. Do you have any hopes for the new patch? What could be released? What should not be done? I don't know. I hope that the relics are really good and really fun, but not broken. Because I feel like if they increase the level of impact a relic has, it would be bad for the game. For example, if they did a relic that is like you get quickness on dodge, that would be crazy, you know. I think they should not do that again. But it should be something that changes your playstyle. I think that's really cool if they did something like that. It's hard to say what they could do. We had some idea the other day what we wanted to have as relics. But I think a lot of relics can be impactful if they are bound to some kind of attack, so that you can deal more damage. For example, if you use an healing skill, you do an attack that deals damage or something. And this is way more interactive, because in competitive modes you can then dodge the extra attack. For example, Fireworks Relic is really boring. You can't really counteract this, because it just gives you a flat damage buff. I think that's not something that you want to have in a game. It should be something fun and interactive that you want to press, because it's a cool skill, a cool animation. And the enemy also can dodge it, so that there's some kind of counterplay in there. Let's see if they follow that advice. I don't know. Let's see. I'm also hoping that the reward structure of the raid will be good. Not only with daily and weekly cap, but also that there will be some new skins, some prestigious items like infusions maybe. Something like that. I hope that will be in there. And also something that is attainable for players that are just, not interested in the challenge mode, but still something that they will be interested in to do the raid. Because if everything is a really prestigious title in the Legendary CM, it will not be enough for people that are not interested in that hardcore content. I think there should be some incentive for people that are not that crazy good, but still want to have fun with the game. And especially the raids. Let's see if they can cater to all those people. I don't know how often I did Dragonstorm already. It's actually insane. It's a rewarding activity, but it's I was every single time I had it, I thought that would be the last time I do it, because this title, the Oreen one, I grinded the Dragonstorm a lot just to get some stuff, events going for the Primorders and Jormak one, but after that I thought, okay, now I'm done. I did it so often, it's crazy. But now I'm still doing it because it's actually quite rewarding and it's actually okay. It's not crazy boring. There are way more boring activities to farm gold. So I'm swapping to DPS now for this phase because it would just be wrong to play support for this phase. Yeah, I agree, Roderick, that it's actually could lead to some boring stuff that you do the same stuff every single day. I actually do it whenever I have time and I feel like it's worth doing for me today. So oftentimes I just do a PvP day, sometimes I just do a World versus World day. It doesn't matter. I don't do it every single day. I will do it whenever I play PvE and I have time for it, but not all the time. I would say nowadays I do it, I don't know, maybe twice a week, which is totally fine for me. Nothing crazy in this sense. But in the past I actually did it quite regularly, I would say almost every day. Just to farm the stuff that I need for this title. Yeah, it's actually crazy. I think it's a development in all MMOs that people play MMOs alone. But in Guild Wars it's extreme. It's really extreme. I think most of the people in Guild Wars will just play alone. There is almost no one that plays in a party or something all the time. Which is okay, the game is designed like that you can do that. And it's also attracting people because of that reason. But I think that's also sad because massively multiplayer online games and then you play it alone, it's a little bit weird, you know. It's just not how you would expect the genre to develop, you know. I don't know. And the problem in Guild Wars 2 is also most people play alone, and if you're not playing alone, you're in some kind of static or some kind of boxed off environment where you don't have any, you know, interaction with the rest of the world, which is a problem. Because then people don't even get to know that this exists, people play this game mode or play this raid or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Yep, that's the same issue. You know, you're working towards a goal, and as soon as you get it, you will just stop playing it. I think that's okay. You always have to have a goal, but it would be sad if you really play the game mode only for that reason. You know, you should also have fun enjoying what you're doing. I think it would be really bad if you just play because you want the title, and PvP is nothing that you would normally play. At least in my opinion, you know. Yeah, I mean, the question now, if it's really like that, if you don't have fun anymore, then I would say either if you're really close, you can grind it, that you get the title. But I would always argue, if you don't have fun doing stuff, then why are you doing it? You should stop it. It's not like Guild Wars 2 is your job and you have to get money and you have to do it. You have to have fun in your spare time and don't do stuff that is annoying you. I think that's really important. I think this motivation of I might get it next time, it's fine, I will get it. I don't have fun, but I'm really close to it, I will get it. I think that's not something you should have in entertainment. You should play whatever you like, you know. That's the same argument if people say, I'm doing the best gold farm because I want to get the gold, you know. But if they don't like it at all, why are they doing it, you know? They should do something that they enjoy, and maybe it's not the best gold farm, but it's still way more fun for them, you know? Yeah, but is that... I don't want to argue against that. If you play Guild Wars 2, that's good, you know? But if you really just think like that, it's not a big deal to just stop, you know? It's never you can ever always come back to. It's not like it's dying anytime soon, you know. I get the point that you might not be that good anymore in the future, at least when you come back, but I guess that's something that you could improve up later, you know. I actually played Guild Wars, I think 11 years now or something, and I was quitting Guild Wars 2 on and off all the time, you know. So I think my longest period was 1 year where I didn't play at all. That's totally fine. The game doesn't punish you for that, you know. You just don't play, and when you come back, of course you have some stuff to do that you maybe missed out on, but that's fine, you know. It's not like there is so much content that you will never catch up. And I think if you currently don't enjoy it, just don't play it. I think that's a really good design choice by Internet, that you don't have to do that. And especially PvP is, you know, it's such a small community in PvP. I mean, no one cares if you come and leave whenever you feel like. It's not like you miss out on anything, you know. It's the same people that stay around. It's not like there is this huge development and you will never get the title again. I think it's the opposite. I think it will get way easier in the future to get the title, just because a lot of people actually will actually quit, or at least not play that much anymore. So you will get the title more easily. Yeah, but they said in the blog post of today that the push game mode will, in 2025, they will do some more stuff with that. So you have at least 2-3 more months until this gets to some extent implemented. And if it gets really, really good, then you might not play it at all. You don't have to play it. It's not... I think Conquest will never be replaced by push. I think that's really unlikely. So don't have to fear anything in this regard. Yeah, I think that's a really big issue that push has. It might seem at first that it's easier for new people to get into because you don't have to rotate that much. You know, you just clash all the time, 5 versus 5, and if you die, you just run back in. But the problem is the rotation part of Guild Wars 2 is really hard on higher level, you know, if you are platinum and above. But for gold players, the rotation part is actually, or lower, actually is not the big problem. The big problem is more the mechanical understanding of the game. So to get to a level that you are in gold and even higher, you have to understand the mechanics of your class and especially all the classes that you face. And the problem there is that you actually don't really learn more stuff in push than you would learn in conquest. I would say it's actually the opposite, because you always face 5 people in the opposite team constantly. You are always in a team fight, and the team fight is one of the hardest things that you have in Guild Wars 2 to learn, because there are so many attacks going on, there's so much visual clutter, that I would say that the push game mode is actually might be harder to get into in the sense that you do it perfectly and learn the attacks of your class or the enemy classes, because you have constantly so much visual clutter on the screen as well, at least in my opinion. So I totally see your point why you would say that push is not improving the situation. I get that, definitely. And the funny thing is, World versus World, a lot of people actually really enjoy it, even though they are new, you know, because with you have the ability to just jump into PvP, World versus World, and you don't really get punished because there are so many people, you know, there are 50 people most of the time running around together, so you don't really get punished for playing bad in a 50-man circle, because most of the time you actually you are just one of many, you know. But in push it's actually not the case, because there are only 4 other people. If you play badly, it's impactful enough to carry the match in a negative direction, you know. In World versus World you can just go in there. If you're new, of course it's not that crazy, but in push it might actually change the outcome of the match if you play really bad. And that might be another issue, you know, why push is not, you know, is some kind of midway between both worlds, and it might not be the perfect thing. Please, so really important tip here, if you play that sometime, this strike mission, never dodge when you have the circle around you, because people might also dodge, and then you have the problem that you die because 2 people can't stand in the same circle. So 2 people with circle, I mean. I mean, this fight is actually, it's insane. It's such a boring fight. I think the strike missions in Soto are one of the worst strike missions they have ever done. I really hope that the raid has better fights than this, because if that's the level of, you know, strike mission or raid design they have currently, it's really bad. There's nothing happening for, how long is this fight? I don't know. Too long for that what's happening. How that people die here? What are you doing? Are you crazy? Do you want to test the res abilities? Crazy. So this strike mission, for example, I would mostly just do once a week, because I don't like it at all. It's fine if you do it once, but if you do it more often, it's just way too boring to do it every day. of course, that's easy for me to say if someone that has a lot of stuff, a lot of gold. I would say if you want to have gold, you should do stuff that is, a little bit not your type of content. Because you have, if you want to have really big amount of gold income, you should do stuff like that. But, that's just how it goes. If you want to have gold, a lot of gold, you have to do stuff that you don't like. If you want to play fun stuff, then most of the time you don't get that much gold. That's just how it works. Hey, Roaming Spirit, welcome to the stream. I think I will go over the blog post now a bit and talk about my opinion on it. Just want also to hear your opinion. What do you think about what they are talking about in the studio update, the manifest that they wrote, so to say? So let me get it. So, you should see it now, yes. So, I don't want to read all of it, but I just want to skim over it and talk about what I think about the part that they are talking about and get you some more insight maybe. Because not only this blog post was released, but they also have some article. I think it was MMO RPG or something. And they will get some more information there as well. So, Roaming Spirit, the World vs. World changes, at least the ones that they talked yesterday about, was actually, I'm pretty sure all of them will come with the next patch. So next week on Tuesday. Yes, I'm pretty sure. But we will get to that in the end of the blog post, I think, as well. So, we will get in the next thing, we will get the next raid. Really cool. We get a new legendary spear. And no new map. That's really important that we don't get a new map. We will only get the convergence and the raid. And the thing is, with the World vs. World rewards, that's one big upset. So while we are at it, let's talk about the World vs. World stuff. So they talk here, just to summarize, they talk about how they implement the stuff and what they think about it, what they did show yesterday, so that we get more rewards for defending and objectives and not having to kill players. If you want a deeper look, you can watch the summary on my YouTube channel about what they said on stream. But in general, they just want to make it more easily integrated in the normal gameplay, so that you just get rewarded for playing the World vs. World game mode and are not punished for defending objectives for a long time. Because previously, if you didn't kill an enemy and still defended it, you didn't get anything, And now you will get some stuff, which is good, in my opinion. And they will also change the points per kill and the victory points. That's interesting, but it's not changing a lot, because most of the time there is still no incentive to win the matchup. I think that's the biggest criticism people have, that there is no incentive to win the matchup. So what do you get for being the first place server? Nothing. There's nothing that you get for that. And that should be addressed in the future for sure. Rather soon, I would say. But it's hard to say, what should they do? I don't know. But they should come up with that. That's their thing. They should come up with solutions to problems they have in their game. Yeah, I mean, the reward tracks, I think they did not talk a lot about rewards in general. I think they should talk more about reward tracks. They say here, to make World vs. World more rewarding, we've added unique skins and fusions and new ways. But in general, I would say they should make more World vs. World centered stuff as well. That you get for playing a lot, you should get rewarded with World vs. World related stuff. That is only in World vs. World, that is unique and gives you some incentive to go there and play different stuff. I think the infusion was good. but it's a really high, big ticket item. I think there should be some little bit smaller ones as well, at least in my opinion. But what was also cool is that they will now get the Warclaw immediately for World vs. World, so that people can just enter it and then can train it via the mastery track in World vs. World and don't have to do some weird unlock stuff. Really cool. And the new exotic gear with stat selectable attributes is also really good, just because they will also get the Demolisher stats that they said they will release, which are a little bit like Berserker or Marauder gear, but instead of vitality or nothing, they will have toughness. Really cool. And then they said they will have a little bit of updates to the UI elements, so that you now get to see how many people have selected your guild as a World vs. World guild. That's also quite nice. And yes, so really important part here is also that you now can actually, I'm not sure if that will come also in the next patch, because that's actually a really big change, that you now can easily transfer between North America and European data centers. That's actually crazy, because currently you have 20 or so servers in the sense, for different data centers, but they are not having any value anymore because you are not in World vs. World together. There are mega servers and PvEs for years, so that doesn't make any sense. And now it's just 500 gems to transfer from EU to NA. I think that's crazy good. I think that's really cool, so you can play with people on both servers really easily. That's really cool. And there they say what I said before, that the push game out will sometime in early 2025 be more, let's say, developed. So back to the Demolisher stats. So I think it's really cool to get the stats. I think the Demolisher stats are somewhat missing in PvE and World vs. World. I think in PvE it might be worth on some tank builds to run. For example, if you want to tank a boss, but in World vs. World it's way more impactful, I would say. I think you can do a lot of builds actually that were not reliant on Marauder gear that can now get some value from the toughness. For example, classes that have high baseline life, like for example Ranger or Warrior. Warrior not that much, but for example Necromancer, that have a really high life pool baseline, and you want to have some more toughness. That's incredible, for them. So I would say Power Reaper can run that really easily, or some Sigam Soul Beast, or some Soul Beast that wants not to be ranged all the time. I think that's some really good Demolisher stats can help with that, So I think it's a really good addition. And I'm always up for more different stat sets. I think it's just improving the game overall, Of course, if they're not broke, if you would do some Celestial, but you get not, if there are some really broken stats, of course not. But if there's some mixes, I think that's really cool. Yeah, I agree that Necromancer might not be the perfect target for those stats, just because you need the life force. But at the same time, it might not be too much, because in PvP a lot of times Necromancer also ran with Rapid Amulet, just to make sure that you get toughness. But I would say there is still value in taking Marauder or Demolisher. I think you can also go for some mix. I think that's also fine. I think it's really cool that they add stuff like that. And they will add Guild Wars 2 to the Epic Games Store. That's also nice, so that we have some Steam and Epic Games Store action. Really cool. And then they just tell us that we have some upcoming events in the next few months. So we have the new patch coming up next week. This week we have the new Hero Jumpstart event, which is actually really good. So currently we get the extra life bonus, which is 11 times the amount that is listed here. So 55% magic find, 55% experience gain, all sources. That means also World vs. World. And then you get 33% reward track in PvP and World vs. World. And this stays for 1 more week. 1 more week. And then you get the new hero jumpstart boost, which will also give you 50% experience gain, 30% magic find, 30% world versus world reward track gain, and PvP train. That's really good. So both of them together is insanely rewarding. So you should, even if you're not a new player, you should do a lot of competitive modes, or at least play as much as you can, because it's so much more rewarding than normal. Yeah, and then we get some nice celebration here. I don't know what exactly that is. December we have Winter's Day, nothing special, maybe some new skins. And then we have some new return event, PvP rush event. There will be PvP a lot of, maybe in this time there will be push again or something, but maybe not. Then there will be a balance update. I'm really looking forward to that one. Hopefully some big reworks. And we get the Lunar New Year event. So nothing crazy actually in the next 3 months. I did not expect anything crazy, but just confirmed my suspicion. Yeah, and then we get, you know, this time we get the Legendary Spear, a weapon set, and relics, some masteries, and new decorations, and of course the Raid Wing and the conversions. So there will be some nice content in this story, but not any open world stuff. No, no new map this time. New map will be next time, so in February I would guess sometime. Which is okay. It's a little bit sad, of course, but I think if they improve the PvE stuff with raids and convergences, I think that's fine to not add a map. I think, for me at least, I think I'm still happy. And I'm really looking forward to the spear. We will get to that in a second. But it looks really good. So we get new story, we get a new Wizard's Vault, we will get some more information on the new rewards soon. So before the patch, of course. And that looks quite good. We will get the Legendary Spear, probably with some kinds of collection to it. And also it's confirmed in the article that they also were posting that it will have 6 different variants. So it will be some kind of the Oreen Spear idea, so that we get 6 different variants to the same legendary. We don't know how it looks, and we also don't know how we will get it. Probably it will be some kind of new collection, but it's really cool. So we have, so to say, 6 more skins that we can go for. Really nice. So hopefully that will be some long-term grind, so that we have something to do for the next 3 months. So the raids are back. I talked about that. We will get 3 bosses, Kriya, Decima, and Ura. And they will also be in the convergence. However, the convergence will only start with 1 boss, and they will slightly add that after time, which was just like in Soto release, exactly the same. And they will keep it somewhat similar. So you have a narrated story that you go through the raid and the strike mission, the raid and the convergence. But the battles will of course be a little bit different in the mechanics, because you fight with 10 or 50 players. So I really hope that the raids are back with this, and not only people play it once and then you will still see only 90% of the people that want to sell the raids for new players. I think if they nail the difficulty in this, it might be really good. If it's easy enough for new people to join in, and it's cool enough for people to stick around and play it, it would be great. Especially when it comes down to that we get the challenge mode and the legendary challenge mode, which will be way harder. Of course, they will be released in 3 months after that, so it's not that crazy right now, but we will get there. I think they will make it easy. I'm pretty sure that it will be easy, just because they want to get value from their raids. If it's too hard, a lot of people won't play it. And if it's easy enough and the rewards are rewarding enough, I think a lot of people that are not interested in raids might join in, if it's easy enough. Yeah, about the conversions I talked about, it's just the same map, but it's a little bit different, fresh experience, and it's also apparently a little bit changing. It's not always the exact same conversions, which looks cool. Let's hope it's fun. They will also integrate the Warclaw to some extent. I hope it's not too boring and too weird, but I guess it's the same duration than the Soto Strike convergences, which is good. At least in my opinion. And let's take a look at the
12.
Trailer.
Let me tell you a story.
And there they also show the new spear actually. So the codon tells the story about the raid and the convergence, and we replay it every time. So we climb apparently on top of the mountain. It's not so important what he tells, I would say, but you can see some warclaw action probably in the convergence, a lot of warclaws going on there. Hope it's not too much. And now we will soon see the new spear as well. I mean, looks quite nice. Some lava flowing, some really cool action. And here we see the spear. Right. These are supposedly the new legendary spears. I think we only see one variant here, but it looks quite cool, really crude, really bony, a little bit wood style. Quite nice, I would say. Nothing too flashy. I'm not sure what the animations will be and how the variants will look like, but it's quite nice, I would say. Some kind of ice effect. I think that will be for sure one variant, or at least looks quite nice. And here you can see again, we have the mechanics that we already saw in the world boss. A little bit different probably, but might be more punishing. It looks quite cool, I would say. And there you can see a summary of what's happening. Nothing crazy, just typical stuff that you would expect. Yeah, I think that's it so far for the blog post. I'm looking forward to the update. Let's hope it's also delivering, especially on the skin side, on the raid side, and on the relic side, in my opinion. But I guess we will see, and we will see next week. Really interested. So I hope you feel somewhat similar, because it will be the next 3 months will be that content. So yeah, not that crazy, you know. But yeah. So to come back to your question about the different, they will for sure do a blog post about the relic spoilers, by the way. They said they will do, not the relic, about the different skins and the wizard world they will do. I hope they will do about relics, but I guess they won't do it, because last time they also didn't do it. And it was actually a little bit sad. I was expecting them to do it, because it was just it's a really cool thing to, you know, to showcase relics and stuff. But I guess they are not that flashy, otherwise they would do some kind of balance stream or something about it. I don't know. I think they also don't want to change the economy or stuff. I'm not sure why they don't tell us previously. But I guess that's just how they do it nowadays. I'm not sure. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, I think it would be cool to have some teaser at least, you know, that I think it's good that they released it now 1 week before the patch, that there's the trailer, that you get some cool skins and you know what's coming a little bit. I think that's good, because that's not what they did last time, I think. They just released the trailer on day 1. I think that was really bad. I hope they will do some, that the most flashy relic or something, they will release how it looks, or what, you know, that you have some cool thing to be hyped about as a competitive player, because currently if you're a competitive player you don't get anything, you know, nothing at all. You will get some changes to world versus world, how it works, but you won't get any crazy new relics or stuff until now, you know. You don't know what's happening, and I think it would be cool. I totally agree. But I guess they might be a little bit sad if people said it's shit or something, you know. That could also happen. So I don't know what they are thinking. We can't change what they show us, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really boring. That in PvE, I think that was a big mistake they made. That they introduced relics that were offensive. I think they should have only gone for relics that were to some extent situational. Because now Fireworks is just giving you a damage buff, Relic of Claw is giving you a damage buff, whereas Relic of Claw is actually better because it needs you to think about what skill you use because it has to be a CC skill. I think that's good. But for example, Relic of Thief is the most boring relic I could imagine, you know? It's just a 5% damage buff if you do anything that is not an auto attack. It's just so boring, you know? I think in any game mode, those relics should not exist. I think there should always be relics that increase your damage by doing an attack, which would be way cooler, you know? For example, if you apply 10 stacks of might to you or your allies, you do something. Or if you press 3 utility skills, you know, not at the same time, but after every 3 utility skills that you use, something procs and something happens. I think that is way cooler than just having a passive buff like 5% damage or 10% damage. Not good. Definitely not good. But I don't know, you know, that's just how they design it. I think the defensive ones are way cooler, you know, you get lifesteal here, you get outgoing condition cleanse, move up condition. Yes, of course they are a little bit passive, but they are way cooler in the sense that they don't increase your damage and you have to think about it when to take them, you know. That's cool, I think, you know. Even relics like this, Relic of Leadership, convert conditions into boons on nearby allies after using elite skill. I think that's really cool, you know. But the problem is you will never run that in PvE because why would you, you know? There are so many. If you are a healer, you go for the healing option, which would be Flock Relic, you know. If you are DPS, you would go always for the DPS option because it's increasing your DPS. You will not run any utility relic in PvE. And in PvP and World vs. World is actually quite the same. You go for the best option in terms of either survival or damage. You don't go for some utility option most of the time. I think PvP and World vs. World have no options, but a lot of relics are actually not used at all because they're way worse. And I think it's cooler if they had relics that were used on some builds and relics that were, you know, not too oppressive. But, you know, maybe they will do some less oppressive relics in the future. Yeah, I think it's the relic design direction is good, but I think they still have to improve it quite a lot. I really like, for example, the Stormsinger one. It's a really cool one. It just gives you an attack when you do a movement skill. That's cool. And those are really nice, but a lot of relics are not that interactive, and that feels like it's not cool to have, you know. Yeah, I think they should just in time they should just bring back all the old 6 rune bonuses. I think they could balance it. And it's fine, you know. Why can't you have the golem if you want to run with the golem, you know? Why not? I think that could be a relic. It's not particularly good, I would say, most of the times, but I think you could do that easily as a relic, you know. Therefore, I would also advocate for giving just more relics every patch. Why not go for 12 relics every time? You know, that would be cool to me as well, you know. I don't know. Maybe it just can't handle the balancing. But I guess the balancing in this game is actually really slow anyway, so I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I think the problem is that a lot of relics, even if you decrease the cooldown, they would either be not played at all because they are just worse than the, say, oppressive relic in the same category, or if you decrease the cooldown too much, they would just be broken, you know? So I think the sweet spot is really slim. I think there is not a big point where you can get it to work, at least in my opinion. So I'm a little bit hesitant to say they should just rework all the old relics because there are so many of them, especially in PvE, that are just not run at all. I think in PvP and World vs. World, at least the new ones are actually quite fine. You know, there are a lot of them that are actually used. Even after the nerfs, the Rivers Relic is actually used by some classes, and I think that's good. It should be used by some classes. You don't want to have relics that are not run at all. I think that's bad. And I totally agree, they should buff relics that are not used at all. But I feel like it's quite hard for them to make builds viable with relics without making the relics too broken. Because if you make a relic too strong, you will get the same situations as you would have with the Rivers Relic, for example, in PvP. Normally you would run this Rivers Relic probably on a side-noding build, which dodges a lot. But because of the 2 seconds of alacrity and the 3 seconds of regeneration, almost every build was running it when it was broken. You know? And I think that will happen at the same amount every time when you get a new relic, because if it's broken, a lot of builds can use it, you know, that makes it broken. I did not say that it's shit. I'm actually disagreeing. I think it's in a really good spot now. I think you should run it on some builds, but only on some. I think not a lot of classes actually get crazy amount of value from it, and I think that's perfectly fine. Warrior, for example, is one class that can get a lot of value by using that. Let's see. We could take some bets, you know, how broken the new relics are. Would be really interesting to see if they will make another one that is so broken. I actually think they learned from it. I mean, in World vs. World, it's not nerfed. It's still the same. So in World vs. World, Rivers Relic is still broken. It was just nerfed in PvP. So I think it's totally fair to run it. I think a lot of builds actually run it in World vs. World. Especially if you use the endurance regen. Either food or sigil. Yeah, the signet of course makes sense. But like I said, it's not nerfed in World vs. World, so it makes sense to run it there, you know. Because it's just really strong. But I like actually that the direction in PvP where a lot of builds actually run specific to their build relics. I think there is not one single relic that is run by a lot of classes, you know. I think that's what it should be. So some builds run this relic, some builds run this relic, but not all of them run the same. Even if they are power build, they not run the same. I think that's good. You might argue that the Stormsinger one is a little bit too oppressive in some power builds. But if you make some other utility one that might be good as well, then I think it's fine. It's not broken in the sense that you one-shot people with the movement skills. I think that's good. Nothing happening anywhere. Actually wanted to do some fractals, but no one joined. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the warriors signets are all, the buffed ones are really strong, really strong. So the Dolyak one is extremely strong, passively minus 10% damage, and gives you great heal, stability, stun break. It's really strong. The stamina one is even stronger, arguably, because it gives you a free dodge and gives you full Condi cleanse. And if you full Condi cleanse, it gives you full endurance, which is crazy. It's really insane that they buffed it so much, and it's still, you know, it's run, but it's not like you run it on every single warrior build, which is really crazy to me because it's such a good one. I wouldn't say warrior is in a bad spot. I think warrior is in a fine spot. I think there are some broken builds in PvP at least. I think in World vs. World you might be right that it's not the best spec. But in PvP I think it's actually in a fine spot. Everything should be balanced around this level of brokenness. I think there are some builds that are just way too broken. I don't know. I think you're wrong there. I think actually warrior damage is actually crazy. With strength straight line, it's actually crazy how much damage you can do. You have permanent 25 might. I saw Stormsinger procs for I think 4k or 5k, which is insane. If you land, for example, your Greatsword Burst and your Stormsinger at the same time, you one-shot a Willbender. I actually think it's really strong in PvP. But it's squishy. That's the negative point there. Yeah, I think I think at this point I think it's hard to play. I think it's a skill issue. And not a lot of people can play that well. And I don't, so I can't give you any tips there. But if you look at Jase or Demolish play it, they are extremely strong with this. You play Spellbreaker and you just deal a lot of damage. And you see so much that you can even take one-on-ones. So I think it's in a fine spot. It's not too broken. But the problem is that other builds are just too strong at the moment, so that it's not, you know, you can't play it most of the time just because the other builds are way better. But I think that's always the case. If you would balance every build on the same level, then you would have some variety. But most of the time in PvP, you play the best build that you can to get the highest results. You know, why would you not? You know, especially when it comes to team play and competitive ATs and stuff. Yes, so Heaven Fire, the thing how you can do it is if you go here and then mark this infinity symbol, and either you can make it with an X, then it will go into the next reward track, and if you do with the check with the mark, you will get it infinitely. That is only possible for reward tracks that are, you know, infinitely repeatable. for reward tracks that you do just one time or you haven't completed before, you can't do that. But most of the time you will have completed it before. So that's what you should do if you want to farm one reward track only, so you don't waste your ticks. I hope that helped you. Yeah, I think actually the build that Warrior in PvP currently is running with strength is using Greatsword. So, and you are right, 100 blades is probably the skill that is used the less often. But I would still say, yeah, if you're only on non-repeatable ones, sorry, this won't work. But yeah, sure, that could help. So I think I agree that the Greatsword is a, let's say 100 blades is such an iconic skill, and it's sadly not that good. But at the same time, I would say if they did give it the same treatment as, for example, Guardian's sword skills, which the sword's free, which you can move while casting it. It's a huge buff, obviously. I think if they would give it that skill, so that you can move it, that you can move while doing it, I think it would actually make Greatsword Warrior really good. I'm not sure if it would make it broken, but it would make it really good. I mean, I would say Warrior has actually a lot of hard-hitting skills. So your Rampage is really hard-hitting. Your burst skills on the Greatsword are really hard-hitting. And your dagger skills can also hit quite hard if you run with dagger. I think you don't have to run Offhand X. I think Offhand X is a bait. You should not run that in competitive modes, I would say. Just because you need some kind of sustain. And the offhand on Warrior is really good. Either offhand sword, shield, and what is the other option? You could even go with mace, because it's so disgusting how much CC you can put out with the new mace. Yeah, I think there are actually quite a lot of options for Warrior. I mean, have you played PvP lately? I would say if there is a skill that hits you for more than 6k, it's probably insane. You know, that's not how a skill should be in PvP. They nerfed it because it was way too much. You know, 12k hits is crazy. One attack, that's not how it should be. PvP is balanced around exactly that you don't get one shot by a random AoE attack. But if you combine it with all your skills, especially when you have might, it's actually a lot of bursts, you know. Yeah, but Willbender one-shots you with a lot of attacks. That's how the game is currently. You get one-shot because you get hit by a lot of attacks. You don't get one-shot by a single attack most of the time. I agree that Willbender damage is too high, but I would at the same time also say that it's fair if you balance skills that to not be higher than 5 or maybe 7k, depending on how much might you have, you know. I mean, the F3 hits for maximum 3-4k. It's not a big damage by itself. But I get your point, you know. I agree, Willbender damage is too high. Especially on skills that shouldn't have damage at all. I think the F3 should not have any damage. I think it's a defensive skill only. I see no reason why you would have any damage on this skill. Yeah, in World versus World, I'm talking about PvP. World versus World is different, I agree. World versus World is crazy. But that was always the case. World versus World was always the crazy game mode, you know? There was never balancing done around World versus World roaming. First time they did it was with Celestial changes. And they only did that because it was in Circ play also that oppressive. Yeah, it's too high, definitely. That's what I said. I would definitely do it as a non-damaging skill. Or at least below 1k, you know, that it's not totally oppressive. But I think in PvP it's the same issue that I think the meta is too bursty. I did a whole 30-minute video about that I think it would be way better if the meta is slower, especially for new players. If you had not a bunker meta, but a meta where you have the one-on-ones would take minutes, or at least a minute or something, and not end because you don't dodge one single attack. I think that's never good for the game, especially for people that want to get into PvP. They don't see anything, you know, because they get one shot in a second, or even less, you know. And it's just normal, you know. It's not like happening once a match, it's happening every single fight, you know, that someone gets one shot. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of skills that hit really hard, but I would say that they only hit hard if you have the right circumstances. I would say if you have no might and no how is it called, vulnerability on the enemy, Spinal Shivers hits for 4k or something. We can test it in a second, but I think the problem is that you underestimate how much damage you can get out for having might and vulnerability on a target, and sometimes in PvP you can do that. Especially in a team fight, you know. Yeah, I think it should be more like that you have might and you get might, but it's really short duration. I think it would be really cool if you do might, short lasting might, so that you can get your burst skills off in this short amount of time, and then you get punished for not using it at the right amount of time because it's too short lasting. I think that should be, but probably, for example, Warrior has 25 mic really almost permanently just because it's running strength, you know. So let's where is it? I mean, I don't have the right build here, but you can check how much damage it does. So you would run something like this, and then you would run in the offhand focus. And then we can test it without might. When you don't have any might, and run Berserker Amulet on a heavy target. No thing. Not even 1.3k. It's extremely low. But the problem is that you can stack that really easily, you know. When the target has 3 boons, when you have might, when you have stuff up, then it hits extremely hard. I totally get your point, but I think that's okay if a skill is situational only, you know. The problem is a lot, for example, Willbender skills hit really hard and they don't have a situation. They just hit hard, you know, they hit always hard. So I think that's the bigger problem here. Yes, I think the booms, I think it's the problem in PvP and World vs. World especially is that you have so many boons all the time. That's a big problem. And that's also why you have so much damage, you know, because people always run around with boons and fury and stuff that amplifies their damage. That's a big problem. Definitely. But at the same time, for example, classes like Weaver don't have good access to stability or even protection. So you get punished, you know, for not having boons because you just can't deal with the damage, you know. So a class to become good needs boons, but at the same time, it makes the game really bad because you always have all boons, you know, or at least a lot of the time. So I think it's a big, they should change how boons are generated, that it's way harder to come by normal boons, you know, at least in my opinion. It should be not that easy to get all the boons permanently. But I think that is long ago was that decided that it's not the case.
Thank you.
I think that would be a mistake to make it non-shareable, the boons. I think that would be a mistake. Because if they did that, I would say that we don't have any good team play anymore. I think team play is important in World vs. World. Yeah, I agree. It's bad that you have 50-man Zergs with 12 boons permanently, but I think team play has to be some kind of aspects, and I think boons is a good aspect why you would run some kind of melee comp. Because if you have no boons or no buffs that you can give one another, you would just cloud all the time. And it also would be not fun to fight against, you know. I don't know. There is always some balancing issue. I think it's really hard to make it perfect. Yeah, it's definitely the case that boon rip is not that impressive, you know. How much should I do? How much do I have? I don't even know. Yeah, it's actually crazy. Yeah, I think it's actually, I don't have any more content to stream, so I'm sorry guys, not a long stream today. I still hope you enjoyed it, our discussions. Hope to see you next time. And be sure to check out my YouTube channel. I was actually deciding against to play PvP and World vs. World today. So tomorrow I will do some more. Yeah, sorry. See you next time. Hope you enjoyed it.